So this is my fifth speech on a conference, and I see a pattern here in Poland. Usually I'm just after lunch break, or just before a break, which is now. So, one story, one theory, 3 practices, 18 minutes, and you're done. We're all done. My name is Paweł Feliński. I'm going to talk about building team right. Building right teams and building it correctly. If you browse internet, there are plenty of articles about it. If you heard Angel in the morning, you will know why 10 steps how to build a great team, why 10 steps how to build high-performing team, and so on and so on. I don't say that it is wrong, what is written there, not at all. But usually there are open phrases. I would like to focus on some practices, and there are plenty of them, and I will not tell all of them in 18 minutes only, but giving my experience, I would like to share what worked for me. So the first story. A couple of weeks ago, I went as a consultant to a company in Krakow, 100 plus employees, yet another agile company, you know. So they have agile, some teams even have sprints. They have product owners, too. No Scrum Masters, not yet. That's not the stage for them, 3 years of being agile only. They are doing many various things, but I really liked their director, development director. He told me, I read a book, Lean Startup, and I thought, we're going to experiment. We're going to experiment, and they did an experiment. They had a team with a team lead, and the team was too big, and the team lead was leaving the company. So they decided, let's split that team into 2 teams with no team lead at all. And he tells me, you know what happened? I said, well, yeah, shoot me, hit me. And he said, these 2 teams are now the best teams ever I've seen in that company among all 30 teams. My face was more or less like that, or not. Like that, anyway. Why is it so? Because that's something that you've seen in books many times, but actually not everybody implements it. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things that we know, maybe know, but we don't do very often in terms of team building. So there's a person in each company who looks like that. Who's that? Nope. It's not human resistance, not a manager, or maybe a manager. In this case, this is a Scrum Master, so a person, nasty person that cooks his own portions. There are 3 responsibilities of a good Scrum Master. He facilitates the process on the team, he educates his team and organization, he coaches everybody. And of course, he's a master in Scrum, all right? But there's something more. And that something more is related to another set of people in that area. This is team. What do we know about team? Okay, it's a co-located team, ideally. It's a cross-functional team. This team delivers value. No less than 3 people, no more than 9 people, and so on and so on. There's one tiny thing that is, in my opinion, a happy assumption in Scrum framework. The fact that the team should be self-organized. Many books about self-organization, what does it mean, how to succeed it, but what if our team is not yet self-organized? According to behavioral psychology, if you put 10 people in one room, they will self-organize in a finite time. We would like the time not to be too long, rather shorter. And the theory that comes to that deck is the Tuckman's model of team development. I believe it's not a surprise for many of you. Tuckman says there are 5 stages in development of every group. 4 stages are here listed. The 5th is dismissal of the team, where team quits or is no more a team. We're going to talk about the first 3 phases, because what we name a self-organized team is the team that is a high-performing team, a mature team, a team that we can trust. Sometimes we don't have this opportunity, to have such a team already built. If you go back to internet and browse team building practices or HR team building techniques, you will see how to hire people. I have a greenfield project, nobody on board, how to hire people so that they're a very good team. Usually, Scrum Masters sitting here, leaders sitting here, are not in a so good position to hire people from scratch. Usually you have a group or a team in a state and has to do something with that. So, let's go step by step through all these 3 first stages. I will tell you a couple of words about it and what were some particular techniques that I usually use and usually they work for me in my experience in my teams. So, first of all, the forming phase. The forming phase is a phase when we don't have a team. A team is a group of people with a shared goal, trust, sitting, working together. They like each other, they work together, they have a common aim. Here we have a group of people, various people. We don't know whether they know each other, usually not. And there are some indicators of that stage. For instance, people are looking for similarities. I'm new here, you're new here, maybe we have something in common. It's very natural, we are social animals, first of all. Second of all, this team is not high performing yet. If you have no trust, you don't know anything about each other. Actually, we cannot talk about high performing team. There are many activities, of course, related to this. Good retrospective will help. Team building workshop will help, and I don't mean at the moment going as a team for a beer, which is also a good solution, always a good solution. I'm thinking of a 1 or 2 days long workshop somewhere in the forest where we put all people in the forest in a tent and they have some HR related activities. But it is time consuming, it's money consuming, and perhaps there are some better techniques to avoid going for 2 weeks in a forest or the mountains to have such a team building. What I do every time I meet a team in a forming phase is a technique called team competence metrics. There are different variations on that. However, the basic idea is the team is asked to prepare a set of competences that they really need. Being a Java programmer, testing, TDD, understanding business, and so on and so on. Here's a list of people, and everybody evaluates himself in a scale from 1 to 5, for instance. Based on that, first of all, we know what we know as a team altogether. We can see what are the gaps of us as a team altogether. Moreover, we know who knows what. For instance, if I am interested in hunting people, I would go to that green guy. Not to this one, not to this one. So we know who knows what. What is the key in any team building activity is not the result here on bold, but the activity of doing it. I think 1 hour long workshop to define these metrics, fill it in, then put on the wall, works for everybody. I tried it also in a context of different cultures, not only in Poland, in Iceland, in Austria, and in Beijing, in China, and it is understood everywhere, and it worked. After this workshop, people know who knows what, and it's a very nice activity for them for future. Forming phase is not so bad phase. You know, at least people are not performing as highly as they could. The worst phase, in my opinion, is the next one, storming phase. So we know more or less each other. We found some people that we are comfortable with. We know there are some people that we maybe don't like. We start to joke for power. We would like to show, to state our mind, our individual experience, and there's a huge potential for conflict in this phase. A good team leader or scrum master in that phase has to prevent this conflict and have to be careful because the conflict can be against the scrum master. In this phase, people are starting to question the rules, question the vision. Is what we are doing, what the aim of our work is exactly what we should do. Again, plenty of different techniques related to this. I'm personally interested in conflict facilitation. Last year, here on AgileByExample, in a different place, but here in Warsaw, I had a workshop on conflict facilitation. And one of the techniques that I didn't mention that time, but I would like to show in here because it's quite fast, is to name the conflict. If I'm, as a facilitator of the team, says, okay, this is the conflict, that's how it works, people already, in many cases, find out themselves, wow, we didn't know. And one of the tools to name the conflict is actually to come back to the Taxman model. What I'm doing, I'm explaining briefly, hey guys, there are 4 phases of team development. Please dot vote. Where do you think our team is? Usually what I receive as a result is something like that. We're about norming, maybe performing even. However, when I start explaining in details, point by point, reading from a book actually, what does it mean to be in a forming phase, storming phase, norming and performing, the result what I get is here. What should happen immediately afterwards is an impediments workshop or retrospective simply. That should be actually, but could be a beginning of retrospective to find out, okay, if it's really so bad, why? Naming the situation, not a conflict yet, but we are in storming, naming this already gives people a lot of attention and awareness that, okay, we would like to be here, right? Maybe our teams already are here, let's do something with that. Okay. The last phase that I would like to bring up here is the phase of norming. Not yet high performing, just norming. What does it mean here? So we have a team. People understand each other and they know how to cooperate, although they know there are differences. In this phase, we are working on normalization. We create norms of behavior. We create some agreements, not literally writing them, but discussing about them. And the team is not yet fully performing, but at least understand each other. This is less sensitive phase for a Scrum Master, definitely. However, still a lot of work to do. Because in that phase, people already are creative, already take care about their job. We would like to utilize this energy, not to be wasted. Because the next phase, the phase of high performing, is when the team has to be only facilitated in terms of process, only coordinated. They're mature, they can do it all on their own. What I'm doing in a norming phase, besides standard facilitation techniques, retrospective, and so on, there is something that opens creativeness of people. First of all, at one retrospective, I propose to create a spider web diagram like that. I'm asking people, what are the key factors that you really care about your work? Not about this particular backlog, this particular product, but cooperation, coordination, communication. And usually they find out 6, maybe 8 different factors. Here are some examples like trust. Trust to each other, trust to the company, maybe my manager, empowerment, Kaizen, predictability, communication, and so on and so on. So this is not something that I'm bringing. They're mature enough to offer their own proposals. Then I ask them to evaluate, not themselves personally, but each individually evaluates the entire team, where we are. Technique, mainly dot voting, and you can see some dots in here. When we have it done, we create a diagram, this yellow, golden, original golden path. And based on that, we have a diagnosis of the team. So that's where we are. Where we would like to be, well, people can put an X, but usually they would like to be 5 in scale from 1 to 5 everywhere. Based on that, we see where we are good as a team, what needs to be improved, and what's immediately. In that case, the case of trust, I think, is the worst one. Maybe very comfortable with that, maybe not necessarily yet comfortable. So what we're going to do right now is to talk about it. And again, retrospective. I'm not going into details of retrospective, this is a standard process. If not retrospective, then impediments workshop. So a retrospective, which intention is to address this particular topic that is visible here. But that's not the end. That's not the end. Because as I said, in the norming phase, we would like to finalize our journey as a team with a list of norms, with sort of agreement. And a technique that should be a follow-up of this retrospective is called a working agreement. That's a list of different working agreements that we as a team agree. that in this situation we're doing that. In case of conflict, we're going to do that, and so on and so on. This is an open document. I didn't write anything in here. So it's not that we created it once and that's it. We should come back frequently, once a month, once a quarter, whatever is needed for that team. The same, the spiderweb diagram. It should be re-evaluated from time to time. If team is using Scrum, a good sprint goal in Scrum for one particular sprint would be to address one of the particular dimensions in here. We are 2 and we would like to be 4. Or we are in not good shape, we would like to do something better. All the outputs from retrospectives that are not action items, that somebody or the team has to do something, are working agreements, which means from now we agree to do or not to do something. And this should be listed in here. After some time, the team having working agreements and using them, sooner or later we become a high-performing team and nobody will look at these working agreements because they're going to be obvious for everybody. Sometimes we have a list of working agreements and they don't work. I mean, there is a list, but nobody looks at it. In that case, that means we would like to have to retrospect again. However, there's a risk that we came back to another phase, one of the previous phases. What I didn't say, and it's omitted very often, is that the model with 4 phases, again, forming, storming, norming, and performing, doesn't mean that you go one by one. You can stuck in one particular phase for years. I've seen such a team in storming for 2 years. Cool, cool. You can go to a performing phase, and because of some event in the team, for instance, a new person coming, or a very cool person leaving the team is coming back to the norming or to storming. So constant awareness of team leader, especially servant leader, Scrum Master, is really, really important. At the end, we should finalize with, we should finish with a high-performing team and a Scrum Master looking carefully about them. In high-performing team, by the way, it's not only the Scrum Master that is responsible for team morale, team mood, phase of team development in taxonomy model, but it's the entire team that is responsible for that. And we're happy to do that. How to find out in which team you are, that's observation only. So as a Scrum Master, you come, you look, if you are new as Scrum Master with a team, you are observing from iteration 2, and based on different indicators, you should be aware of that. Taxman model is one thing. Second thing are different roles in the groups. So we have people on different positions with different experience, and they have natural different team or group roles. About the roles, I have a workshop tomorrow, no time to present it today. We're going to have a special conflict during the workshop, so the storming phase indicated, introduced, and we would like to, we're going to try to survive it using this and a bit different techniques. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to find me somewhere here during coffee breaks today and tomorrow. You can also find me on Twitter or email me. I'm happy to have a follow-up discussion with you. Thank you very much.